Welcome to Fact Upon the Fiction. This episode we're going to be talking about Watchmen. Now here with the Fact Upon the Fiction series, this isn't about behind the scenes special effects, not really about philosophy. It's more about real world applications of these fictional events like we see in the films or whatever else we're going to be reviewing at the time. But here's the Watchmen, and let's get right into it.
Seymour, we don't dignify absurdities with coverage.
Okay, so a quick overview of the story. The story takes place in 1985. It's I don't know what you call it, an alternate or a parallel reality where most everything is the same, but there are some key differences. Notably, like in this version of 1985, we won the Vietnam War, and also Richard Nixon is in his fourth term. Things that aren't feasible in our current continuity. And there are also real people who make cameos in the story, like guys like Henry Kissinger and Pat Buchanan.
Pat Buchanan, 0. The Soviets would never risk going to war when we have a walking nuclear deterrent on our side.
Run through this real quick. The costume vigilante and government operative, the comedian, is murdered for reasons unknown, which sets off the chain of events for the film. The primary cast of the film includes Adrian Veidt, aka Ozymandias, former vigilante and current billionaire philanthropist, Dr. Manhattan, a physicist who receives superpowers from a work incident. Like the comedian, he becomes a vigilante and government asset.
We repeat, the Superman exists, and he is American.
Retired second-generation costume adventurer Silk Spectre, Night Owl, expert inventor and retired costume adventurer, and everyone's favorite masked sociopath, Rorschach. Rorschach drives the story by believing that the comedian was killed in an attempt to rid the world of costume vigilantes. There is a lot of history in the Watchmen. Like I said, some of it is real, some of it is augmented in certain areas, certain aspects. There was one thing, just in the opening credits alone, like you could do a whole show just talking about the opening credits, but there was something in the opening credits I would like to talk about. That'd be the Minutemen. The Minutemen in this story are the, I guess kind of like the Golden Age heroes, superhero team. I guess we have like the Justice League, and I guess they'd be like the Justice Society. But the Minutemen are from the Revolutionary Wars, where the name comes from. It's a group of militiamen who fought in that. Now, the name militia, I believe, is used a little bit too liberally. We got supposed militia groups, quote. Nothing. For the most part, a lot of militia groups currently are just guys with guns and too much free time on their hands. A lot of them cruise the U.S.-Mexico border and harass Mexicans. But there is a right, Second Amendment right, to a well-regulated militia. And well-regulated militias I don't have a problem with, but these kind of roving gangs who, hide behind the Constitution, that's not a good deal.
With Nixon forcing you out. Nixon, oh, that prick. And to think I voted for that prick 5 times.
Hey, it was him or the commies, right?
We see here in the film that there's been this thing called the Keene Act, which outlawed superheroes, or say vigilantes. Outlawing so-called vigilantes, I don't think is a bad idea. But you do, like I mentioned earlier, you do have a right to a well-regulated militia, and I definitely believe that should be protected.
Vigilante known as Rorschach has assaulted a police officer in the early morning hours. Rorschach is on the FBI's 10 most wanted list for violation of the Keene Act, which banned masked heroes 6 years ago.
Maybe you're like me and you just one of these things that you've always wondered. How does somebody get on the FBI's most wanted list? So here's a short clip of that.
Since its debut in 1950, the FBI's most wanted list has featured some of America's most notorious criminals. 94% of them have been located, dead or alive. FBI field officers nominate fugitives based on 2 criteria. First, the individual must have a long record of serious crimes or be considered especially dangerous to society. And second, the FBI must believe that the nationwide publicity generated by adding the fugitive to the list will aid the investigation.
Here's a segment I guess has kind of become a normal thing in these videos. It's the brief moment of philosophy, so here it is.
You can give it up. Try and have a normal life.
Is that what you have now? A normal life? When you walk down the street in the city dying of rabies, past the human cockroaches talking about their heroin and child pornography, you really feel normal.
Now, I don't view people as human cockroaches like Rorschach does, but I mean, just kind of, do you really feel normal? You know, when I try to talk to people about social issues and things that of actual relevance, they just kind of look at me crazy because I don't sit around watching reality shows and the same episode of SportsCenter 15 times. Like I don't really feel like a normal person, and I'm not saying there's something wrong with me, something wrong with them, but I don't feel comfortable, in that kind of setting. So my rant will move on.
Turning your superhero alter ego, Ozymandias, into a billion-dollar industry. Toys, lunchboxes, genetic engineering.
Toys, lunchboxes, and genetic engineering. That's a wide palette. Now, this guy I'm about to show you, I don't know if he's ever made lunchboxes, but he has made toys and dabbles in genetic engineering, so here that is.
Malaria is a disease that in my lifetime we should be able to get rid of.
And how big a part of that is the genetically modified mosquitoes?
The genetically modified mosquitoes is a very early stage thing. It's not necessarily part of what we've done. I'd say it's kind of a long shot.
There's nothing worse than a broken Xbox. But what if Microsoft knew it was broken to begin with and hoped no one would notice? Consumers in California have filed a class action lawsuit against Microsoft over the Xbox 360's abnormally high failure rate. The suit claims that Microsoft knew about the problem during the initial Xbox 360 launch back in November of 2005, yet it concealed it.
Forced vaccinations via mosquitoes and crappy toys that break on purpose. But don't forget, Bill Gates loves you. Okay, now one of the things that runs pretty heavy in the film Watchmen, I stress the film, the energy movement. I guess you call it the clean energy movement. I guess nowadays we call it the green energy movement. So here's a piece of that.
We recently expanded our research facility in Antarctica in the hope of developing cheap, renewable sources of energy that we might eliminate the world's reliance on fossil fuels.
Like I said, the clean energy movement is a big part of the film and a theme that we'll come back again to later.
I'm glad I ordered the four-legged chicken.
I don't know if you guys could catch it, but in the background of the scene, you can hear somebody saying that they ordered the four-legged chicken. I'm pretty good at looking stuff up. I'm not sure if I can find a picture of a four-legged chicken, a real four-legged chicken, but there is plenty of genetic splicing, weird stuff going on, so I'll find something and I'll throw it on the screen for you.
I love working on American soil, Dan. Ain't had this much fun since Woodward and Bernstine.
Haven't had this much fun since Woodward and Bernstine. Now, this is something I actually had to look up myself because I wasn't exactly sure what he was alluding to. But Woodward and Bernstine were two journalists who reported during the Watergate fiasco. So I'll include some links to that. So if anybody's interested, like I said, you can look that up for yourself.
Dr.